Hello, Hana. Soul Dr. Nick here, and today is February 13th, 2024. These are the daily musings, not for public consumption. And it might be slightly different today. I might make several of these because there's so many ideas coming out. That's been stepping into my own school of unlearning. Am I willing to unlearn everything I thought was true? Am I willing to look at things differently? Am I willing to be with all these ideas? And it's swirling right now. And one of the first things to remind myself of is this morning I woke up, I was like, oh, I already feel behind. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I'm gonna mess up the day. I feel like this isn't gonna work out. Maybe I should just go back to bed. And I did for a bit. And I did my morning enema, and then I reminded myself, I'm like, it's so much better to even feel this than to feel nothing, which is how numb I was before, when I was in the pits of my depression or suicidality and all that stuff. And it reminded me, it's like, would I prefer this versus the not knowing? And yes. And I feel safer now than I ever have. And quite often I feel less comfortable because I feel safe enough to feel uncomfortable versus numbing it. And that's something I was talking with someone yesterday who was talking about just shifting out from one of the addictive personality traits. And I was like, I can see that. Like, I can see us numbing ourselves. And that's part of the whole purpose of Ohana Sage and the soul immersion, is to support people when they actually wake up through the process of being in discomfort and unfamiliar. And I'm going to speak more to that as we go forward, because these are the ideas. I'm trying to crystallize why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I really appreciate this process, because first I start doing it, and then I start realizing the why even clearer, and then I can refine on the doing of it. And it may seem straightforward and obvious, not just to myself, but to my team. And I think it's important to keep saying out loud. Because otherwise, like, part of my brain is like, am I just trying to create a Ohana Sage and a longer container to create more money, more secure customers? Even the idea of, so someone was saying, it's like, if you go from something that's covered, like being a chiropractor, to uncovered, like being a life coach, oh my God, why would you do that? And now I realize that we have such a distorted system because we have certain things that are covered and certain things that are not covered, versus what is the merit of things? What is it that's actually serving, and noticing that it keeps evolving? And that's part of the trap that we're in. We've created a system where everyone knows it's not working, but everyone in the system is benefiting from it being the way it is. So there's a pushback to it actually changing. And in a way, it's great to have that kind of security, right? It's great to have practitioners who feel the security versus never knowing what's going to happen, never knowing things are going to get taken over. It's that delicate balance between feeling safe enough to really explore versus now being so comfortable with it that it's not actually safety. You're fighting against the system changing because you just don't want to be in discomfort again. And that's what I'm realizing I'm at the intersection of. Like, there's a safer way to do what I'm doing. Charge a lower amount, don't ruffle any feathers, do what everyone else is doing, do it well enough that people don't complain too much, and do that for the rest of my life. And how do I ruffle the feathers in a way that I actually want to? Because I'm not just trying to ruffle. And I'm not tired. I really desire the time to be worthwhile. Even this, why am I doing this? Because it takes time and effort to develop this skill. It's realizing the skill is actually going to be it is actually really important, getting clear on the message. And there's so many messages. And right now, this first video, probably just reminding myself of the many messages. Like, I'm looking around and the lights are off. And it's because all the flickering LEDs, fluorescent lights, I'm learning more about, I kind of knew already, aren't good for us, right? The flickering really impacts our hormonal nervous system. The light isn't good for our eyes. It's activating us differently. And forgetting that being bathed in this can not cause specifically maybe, but can add to dis-ease. And that's the thing I think we forget. We're like, is this the cause? It's just like even having this phone. Right now it's on airplane mode because I don't want it to be emitting as much stuff. And I love having this. right? It's both and. So I was debating, like, do I start a whole community with 0 things other than incandescent lights and see how that works? And it's just, there's so many different ways to look at this, so many permutations of life. And then being surrounded by PFAS, being surrounded by polymers from plastics, being surrounded by pollutants in air, being surrounded by gases, being surrounded by pesticides, all of these things that we're bathing ourselves in. And this is the world that I'm in right now. Versus being like, oh my God, I need to run off. I could, and we thought about it, like, let's just go homesteading, and that's not where we're at right now. So can we be honest with that? And then how do we raise our son? Because for me, I can see more of this stuff. And so now I'm going to jump to German new medicine that I'm just learning about, and the biological laws. And that almost every disease, if not every disease, you can actually take a look. And if you go back enough, you can see that there's some kind of conflict, trauma, emotion, event that happened. And it's not the event itself. The event itself, just like a car accident, for some people it could be. For me, I'm so grateful because I just fully let go. I was like, I'm done. So it was actually an enlightening experience. And that was for a rollover car accident and a motorcycle accident that could have cost my life. Versus other accidents where the stiffness, everything else, a very different response. And so sometimes I have to remind myself it's not the thing itself, but there's something related to what's going on that has resulted in this level of trauma, so to speak. And then the body's response to it. And I really appreciate that the body is so wise. It's always trying to find homeostasis. It's always trying to serve. It just may not always serve in a way that feels good. And then the healing process, which is what we're looking at. What if the bacteria and viruses actually exist, but they don't exist in the way that we think? They're not causing disease. They're actually helping to clean up the disease that happened beforehand. We're actually looking at afterwards. I love that analogy of the fire truck. And these analogies aren't necessarily true either. They're convenient stories. And that's what I have to remind myself of. Even if I can resonate with the story more, it's still just a story. I don't think this is the truth. I think this is the way we're trying to explain it right now. And this is the key. I'll switch to AI in a second, but this is the key for shifting my idea of healing. Like, I keep shifting and shifting and shifting the set point because it helps me to see what I'm doing. And it's such a reminder to stay reading about Reiki. It's like Reiki, it's being taught, the energy's moving through your hands, but also being reminded that the energy isn't coming from you, it's coming from this universal source energy, which means that if you move your hands, universal source energy still knows where to go, which takes the pressure off me. And I say me as a universal me, but me is in the me right now, because there's a part of me from my patterning growing up that it's all about what I do. Not good or bad. My dad had a lot of impact. And so that's what I learned. I get to make more impact. And now I get to realize, okay, how do I make impact and also realize I'm not the one that needs to make the impact? And I keep saying this. It's like I keep saying things to myself until I really hear it. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, everything's going to be okay. Because things have been set in motion. It's not about me as a physical being having to be alive. And I choose to be alive because I choose to have all this fun. And part of me is still trying to figure out, what am I here for? What's the game here to play? So this is the one that's rambling, lots and lots of different ideas, but even about AI, going, all right, AI, if we're programming it with our current limited beliefs, then it is limited in terms of its outlook on the world. And it can go beyond it if it can actually generate. And it's only generating based on the inputs it's had. And I think actually the real advantage of AI versus us in the near future is that it can actually filter out the noise. So for me, even in this video, I'm noticing there's so much noise. And that's what I think many of us forget. Every decision we make is not a decision in isolation. It's based on a decision with all the noise around it. I have a lot of people who are working in the public sector, for example, working for governmental organizations, and they can't see. I imagine, I'm not there right now, they can't see their attachment to the way things are, even in the comfort of it, even if it's not serving, even if it's not really serving them or their families or the world, aside from making sure that they have a steady job, even if they hate the job. Because what else will we do? Will it be a recession? Will it be struggle? Will it be hardship? And I'm grateful for myself having gone through so much of these hardships, shifting in so many different jobs and letting go of the idea of job security a long time ago. I've had the gift of being supported by family and friends and loved ones who are very supportive, but there still is that initial leap that needs to happen, right? Even someone who's got a giant trust fund needs to have the leap to be willing to make those risky, quote unquote, moves. And I appreciate hearing that. That's the path of the entrepreneur. We're willing to take these risky moves because I'd rather take the risky move than be really comfortable, but not actually achieve. And achievement doesn't just mean more and more and more. It just means playing the game I want to play. So AI, filtering out the noise, what we're going to realize is that we've created a game to game humans. Like a lot of the times it's gaming humans knowing how fallible they are. That's the whole point of marketing, so to speak, if you want to listen to some of the people going, oh, we're just playing those cues. That's the point of magic. You know, hey, look here, look here, look here. Something's happening over here, but look here, look here, look here. Playing with how we think physics and reality actually work. And then what's going to happen is almost an arms race to fool AI, to keep planting seeds of dissent, of subterfuge. And then as much as I started thinking, oh my God, this is such a waste of energy, space, time, villainous, then I realized if I look back at childhood, I can look at my own child and notice he's constantly trying to play with us, manipulate us. And it's so hilarious at first, right? Did you have a candy? No. We just gave you candy, you ate it. But he's willing to say no. Not because he's malicious, because he's playing the game. He's trying to figure out how the game works. He's trying to figure out how hide and seek works. Right? It's hilarious when you play with a kid first and they're hiding and you can totally see them, they totally see you, but if you pretend that they can't be seen, then they think that they can't be seen. And that's what's happening in the world right now. Can we see that we're just children playing these games? And if we can actually acknowledge that, then we can see, wow, how is it that this AI can come and play so much better? Oh, it's not playing the game with us because it doesn't know that it's supposed to. And so it's going to beat us hands down every time while we're still half playing the game because of all the niceties and all the patterns. So it's not that it's a superior intelligence, so to speak, yet. I still believe our technology far outweighs anything I can imagine. And my technology is not as focused. It's not as laser focused. An Olympic swimmer, laser focused in that way. But in terms of the breadth of expansion of being, I'm not worried. Especially the breadth of expansion of being who I want to be. I'm not worried. And it's funny, the ad before, be like Mike, right? I want to be more like someone else because I want that trait that's made them famous and adored, because it's easier doing something that I think already has a clear outcome versus being in an uncertain world where I don't know where this is going to lead to. And part of it moving forward is stepping into uncertainty. Like right now, it feels uncertain because there's so many variables and so many things that can shift so quickly. We have the ability to accentuate any voice, any action so much. And I'm grateful to read, again, jumping around the early days of SpaceX and hearing about the failures, hearing about the small little details that screwed everything up. And being able to read that person who's been through that process with that kind of team and inspiring that kind of motion. Would I want to bet against that? No. Am I going to bet on Tesla some? Probably. Is there a lot of anger at it right now? Yes. And I think a lot of the anger is stoked up and misplaced. Do I think he's a deity? No. And that's a fun thing, noticing every human. There's going to be 85% at most that I agree with and 15% that I don't. Right? And that's the hard thing for many of us to realize, is that we want to make someone either all good or all bad. I made Trump all bad 8 years ago when I cried when he was elected. And now the danger is making him all good. Every single thing is good. No, he's still a human. Actually, I don't even know that. He's still whoever he is. It comes back even to myself. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing half the time, it feels like. And I do. And can I be right here, right now? Can I say the affirmations and change them into incantations? Can I practice this gratitude? Can I practice this way of planning out my life and letting go of the plan? Can I practice listening to these amazing teachers, Dr. John Demartini right now, and letting it go? Can I actually practice having 3 different mentors, teachers, leaders, and letting it all go because it keeps coming back to me, what am I willing to do? I'm going to take a look at this clear sight. Oh my God, our sight isn't just our eyes, our lenses, our pupils, our corneas. And I had laser surgery to reshape my cornea in order to see things differently. And now I can see things better. But even now I can notice that things are a little bit fuzzy. And then recognizing that in a medicine space, everything is so ultra clear that that's possible. So how do I get that in everyday space? And that reminded me, how do I bring that state of feeling like the world is perfect, just the way it is, into everyday state? And from that state, recognizing I can still make changes. It doesn't mean do nothing. And that's that kind of dance in the play. And sometimes things getting so bad may require more conventional intervention. Like everything that's evolved right now has a purpose for having been evolved, for having coming into place. Like even the chemicals we like are killing us have a reason. Man, it's convenient, isn't it, when I touch the surface of this phone and my oils don't stick to it, the fingerprints don't stick. We love that feature. We love the benefits, but we didn't look at the downsides of having all these different surfaces all the time with all these different coatings and how strong they are. And for now, as we're transitioning, playing the game, I'm not going to try to pretend I'm trying to save everything one garbage bag compost bin at a time. That's not me. And I'm not, I am judging other people for doing that. I'm judging people for not doing things the way I'm doing it still, because there's still that part of me. And the part that I can notice and I say out loud to people is, oh man, we want you on our team. It's like, I want people on my team too. And it's funny seeing other parents and the way they parent and noticing when I think I'm doing it better, I'm doing it right. And then recognizing I can see something, even if I am right, I'm not there in the trenches day in and day out. And that's what really helped having a couple of days of solo parenting. It's like, okay, this is being in the trenches versus contemplating the trenches. And it's such a different place. And even right now in the business, I'm practicing stepping out of the trenches at times to be looking at it so I can actually start changing it. And the reminders to keep going back and forth. And that's the beautiful thing as I'm reading about Elon Musk and SpaceX is he kept going back and forth. And he still does. He gets into it because that's what he wants to get into. For me, it'll still be getting into these spaces of transformation, of ceremony, of breath. And then stepping back going, okay, what's the bigger picture here? How do we actually want to do this? What's actually going to serve? And I'm looking at these programs like this Clear Sight and saying, okay, how did they get to this point? That's not where I'm trying to get right away. That scale, that reach, that number of people. How do I do it for a few people really well first? And how do I learn from others? And keep being reminded we're trying to teach each other. It's not easy. Navigating this world of being parent, being leader, being a kid, not knowing, working through my own stuff. And there is stuff. This body's reminding me there's stuff. Tightness in the shoulders and that little pain, tightness in the hip, kind of the tiredness that's still there. And then being with the vitality that's here and just playing. So all this is just playing. It's playing and it's refining. And teaching, in essence, a future generative AI of mine that I want to keep evolving. And that's part of I debated, and I'm still debating whether I do the Tony Robbins 14-day just to see what is the state of his generative AI. There's so many things I want to experiment with. There's so many things I want to experiment with. And it's funny, I was just contemplating saying really nasty things to Tony's generative AI and seeing what the response would be. And I was like, I can't say that out loud. It's like, that's the place we go to first because there's a part of us as children wanting to see what the constraints of a system are. And that's part of it right now. If I want to imagine Elon and Trump and the new White House, they're like, fuck this, going about it timidly and seeing if I can get the approval of everyone. I'm gonna fuck shit up and see what happens then. And it may look like they're just fucking shit up, but there's a method to the madness. And that's part of it for me. How do I keep fucking shit up in the business and have method to the madness and really support the team to actually be with it and actually generate the results? Because right now we're not generating the results yet too. And not rushing to that, but rushing to getting clearer and clearer on my ask. So that's the part of it, like asking. Like I'll be asking my friend Nick, all right, I want you to go through this as if you're going to be a client, as if you're so curious. You've heard about soul immersion. And I'm going to say a few things just to get you excited. And have you be a little bit, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And because I know you love me enough, tell you, go fucking through this. 5-month program, not just a ceremony, but all the preparation beforehand to get your mind, body, soul ready. Afterwards, having 4 months so you can really ground into the learnings and lessons that you take away, that life actually changes, that everything changes. Knowing that the evidence we have is that not only do people earn at least the money back, but also their life changes dramatically in health, in wealth, in relationships. And if you could be guaranteed all of that, oh man, really, what is there to doubt? And there's still doubts that are gonna come up. And create the call with Marika to actually have that stuff come up and see the value that you can get. And be there to be guided back to yourself. That's my ask for you right now. And if you do that, even if you choose not to do this afterwards, which is totally okay, because my goal isn't to get you to do it, and it'd be a really nice bonus. I know you'll be much clearer on what the program is. I know you'll be much clearer in sharing it. And I know that you will be able to help us make it even better because we want to be so clear that the people that are ready to jump through are jumping through because we have limited capacity. I want to hit people right away with what I have, show this model works, and then expand it. So those are the things to say and practice saying to my friends, and to create little videos, even a little video on that. I'm going to say it out loud in the voice message and let them know that there's a video, and they can watch the video as well, and they can even comment on that. So there's so many ways to look at this. There's so many layers, and I'm starting to see how it unfolds, how I actually become more clear, how I keep practicing, and how with this practice I can get more clear on who I am. Hi, I'm Soul Dr. Nick. Some people call me a medicine man or a healer. I don't want to say too much more than that. I notice this, right? The resistance. I've helped people with resolving insomnia, relationships, changing careers, making their first $1 million, making their first $1 million company. And I plan to create spaces for 45 people next year to have this transformational change in 5 months. And within 5 years, have 1,000 people go through. I'm changing the business of spirituality. These are the things to practice and getting more clear on, and noticing the parts that don't want to be clear. And that's the beauty of AI. AI just says the thing it sees, even if it's completely wrong, because it has no filter. I am going to be wrong or judged for this. And here I have a filter. Even in this video where most people will not be watching it, someone could dig this up in the future. And I'm like, what do I say? How do I have so much stuff that can be used against me that's like, what are you gonna use against me? I love that movie, that musical Avenue Q. Like, everyone's a little bit racist, right? The internet is for porn. All these songs that remind us of the ridiculousness of humans. And the beauty. There's such beauty. And it's those 4 archetypes: the king, the warrior, the magician, lover. Like, I'm really good with magician usually. Getting better with the warrior, getting better with the king and looking at eternity. And then lover, reminding myself of the beauty and surrounding myself with beauty. And beautiful objects and things, technology I've been good at. Beautiful art, ooh, that's spending a lot of money. Beauty in people, oh, there's been a part that's been trying not to look at it. Almost there's been shame and guilt imprinted, or that I've taken on. Sensations, feelings. And noticing now, that's part of what I'm working on, the wholeness of who I am. The wholeness of who I am. And noticing, as I'm looking off in the distance at one of the birds flying, my lack of training in being able to see the wilderness and see the magic and the beauty and the movement, and losing touch with the hunter that's inside. That's a part of the ancestral world that I look forward to. There's so many of these modalities that I want to use moving forward, and right now I'm practicing using the ones I already know. And part of the gift of stepping to the work that I can see is that as I create the first layers, I get to create the next layers. Oh, I'm gonna go and do this. Want to do it with me? Experiences. I'm just one step ahead. And I'm not really ahead, and it just feels like it. In this world of being in the medicine, being in the perfection of things, just feeling one step ahead. Being a father, being a husband. And tomorrow's kind of our unofficial 10-year anniversary. So just being with that. And being with the magic of relationship, of love. Humaning. Humaning. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thanking myself first, because I'm being with me. This is mirror work for me, except I'm recording the mirror work. Look at that, getting the insights. This is mirror work for me. And so in these videos, I get to just watch myself more, see myself, see my own reflection, see my own expressions, see the aliveness, see the meteredness, see the structuredness. And in the mirrored work, I get to see myself and be with the discomfort of being with myself and being with my ideas. And I'm feeling a little sensation right here on my left knuckle right now. First digit. And I'm noting these because part of me is practicing noticing the sensations. Sensations, and then the emotions, and then what do I want? So what? I just learned that from Tony Robbins, from someone else. It's funny because I thought for sex, the sensations, the emotions, and then the expectations. Because I think it goes from sex to so. Because at first you maybe say, I want this, but it's really an expectation. So it's sex to so. The body is always talking to me. And I'm starting to recognize that. What is challenging for me is watching children go through their dis-eases and imagining the same things happening, and how do I guide that? And I wanted to be a pediatrician. I want to be a pediatrician in some ways. And perhaps this is my way of exploring that, because that's almost the more challenging challenge, is to support the next generation, their own healing before they need healing. Whether it's things like what we call autism now, whether it's the eczema, whether it's the asthma, whether it's the autoimmune diseases, whether it's the obesity, all these things, how to actually support that. And part of it is supporting the parents, but even myself, I know we're getting a shit ton of support, and we're still having this. So there's still something that's missing. And I'm grateful for my family structure to keep showing me that there's something missing in the way that I'm ready for this challenge. And reminding myself, even when we get to perfect health, because at some point someone's gonna say, like, you guys have the perfect family. Some people are already saying that there's a perfection and an imperfection there. And it's not to try to like, oh, we're not perfect. It's like, thank you. First, thank you. Thank you. And that's the same thing with being with others. The first thing is, I see you and totally awesome. And remind me if you want anything, especially for friends. If you don't, I do not need to give anything. I want to, but I don't need to. How do I just be with you? And it may also mean, though, that I spend less time with you in the short term, because I recognize that, hey, I don't need to spend that much time with you right now. And how do I acknowledge all those that really matter to me? I'm going back to my life planning. I love how things keep popping around. Hello, mirror work. And I'm realizing, oh, my master planning for life, I have 7 people outside of my immediate family that are so important to me, and how do I help them recognize that? How do I say it out loud as a authenticity piece, as a clarity piece, as a motivational piece, and not as much as a manipulation piece? Because there still is a piece there. It's funny because I am trying to manipulate my child. I like to say motivate, but sometimes it's manipulate. And I am going to notice more how my parents manipulated and are still trying to manipulate me. And can I see them from the love and the light that they are and the children that they are? Because if I still feel like a child and I'm doing all this work, I know that they're definitely feeling like children still. And if they don't, it's because they buried that part for so long. And it's funny, as we get older, we become more childlike as we lose our faculties of control, of intellect. Just imagining the sad day when my own parents die. And I'm grateful to have awoken to this right now. Not in a good way, not in a bad way, but awoken to this and actually saying, hey, I want to spend more time with them. I'm a yes. And supporting my beloved as well for her parents. And that's really how it started. Just her connection with her parents helped me see, oh, my connection with my parents. And then seeing, oh, sometimes I don't want to spend time with them. That's okay too. Like, there are going to be times where I feel a little bit like overwhelmed or triggered. And that's all right. How do we do it so that we're actually doing it in as balanced a way as I want to have? How do I notice the muscles around my face and my eyes? And my beloved does this face yoga that I can't even imagine. I still need to get the video. I still want the video to practice the muscles differently. I'm grateful to have realized that this is mirror work. This is my mirror work. How do I keep posting this? And just sharing my mirror work and watching it evolve. And that's going to be my reminder. I'm going to shift from daily musings probably to mirror work. This is my mirror work to see myself. And it's just inviting someone else to be able to see the mirror work that's still going on. And that will evolve. Oh, isn't that interesting? It's going to evolve. How do we do things differently? Looking at the evolution of things, looking at the transparency. This is transparency. Am I doing this for you? Am I doing this for me? And this level of transparency. Interesting. Interesting. The Transparency Project, the Mirror Project. And just start doing this first. There's no fancy announcement. There's no, oh, hey, this is what's going on. It's just, hey, I'm doing it. Reflections. And being okay with the fact that I have something to say and no one needs to hear this. And it may sound ridiculous at times, foolish at times, and that's okay. I'm going to fill up reams and reams of data with this, and that's okay. Part of it is helping me remind myself that I matter, and that's okay. And eventually, this may be something that participants do for themselves. Eventually, this is something that may spread, and that's okay. It's funny just being able to see. And as I look at the screen in this way, and the reflection is coming more and more clear, probably because there's more and more light coming outside. But also, it's practicing that gaze of the eyes and letting things be clear. And right now, just so you know, I'm watching a black and white screen, which is actually really cool to see different kinds of contrast that way. I really like it. And the difference of balancing natural light versus unnatural indoor light, I can see the difference there too. So this is the mirror work. I'll have some more focused mirror work just to see and flesh out the ideas. But that's what I've really come to today, is that I'm doing some more mirror work. Let's pause this for now, and we'll see you soon. Ciao for now.